Pam Smith with Farm Journal, and I'm here today with Larry Steckel, University of Tennessee weed specialist, and we're talking a little bit about weed resistance. Larry, what are you seeing in Tennessee?
Well, we had a pretty big change this year in the state of Tennessee as far as resistant weeds went, and what I'm talking to specifically is palmer amaranth. Prior to 2008 and up through 2007, we had glyphosate-resistant palmer amaranth confirmed in just a handful of corn or soybean and cotton fields in 3 counties. And really, we noticed it back as far early as 2005, and it really didn't look like it was progressing very much. That all changed in 2008. We found it in hundreds of fields across 10 counties. It ranged in many cases from small spots of palmer pigweed that Roundup was no longer controlling, the size of a pickup truck. Where obviously one female plant the previous year that was glyphosate resistant went to seed. And it went to the other extreme to where the whole field was completely covered with palmer amaranth, and the growers had put on as much as a gallon of glyphosate with absolutely no impact at all. And that was one of the 2 biggest changes. Number 1 was just how quickly it spread. Number 2 was the level of resistance. Up through 2007, we would go out to these fields that Roundup was no longer controlling palmer amaranth, and we'd take seed off those plants and we'd take them to the greenhouse and we'd screen them with Roundup. We would have some live through 44 ounces of Roundup Weather Max, but we would control them with 88 ounces. Now that's not good, but it was better at least what the folks in Georgia and the Carolinas were getting. They weren't controlling them with triple digits in ounces of glyphosate. That's what we found this year in a lot of fields. We went up to over 152 ounces in some cases of Roundup Weather Max on some soybean fields, and especially some of those big pockets I was talking about. And the level of resistance of that palmer pigweed was just staggering to me. We would have that much Roundup was stunning the Roundup Ready soybeans. It was yellow flashing them, they were checking up growth, and the palmer amaranth was completely unfazed. So that was the 2 biggest changes, the widespread and then the level of glyphosate tolerance that we're seeing in palmer pigweed this year.
So what are those growers doing for this coming year?
Well, they're doing a number of things, and I keep contact with them. First, some of them were going to go with corn, but we had a pretty tough year in Tennessee for corn. We were in the 90s state average yield-wise, and with the fertilizer prices, not very attractive. Most of them that I'm talking to are going to soybeans. Some are going to Liberty Link soybeans and going to use the Liberty Link system with a pre. Others are going to do the Roundup Ready system, but they're going to be relying very heavily on pre-emergence herbicides, Valor, Prefix, things like that up front. And then where the fields are completely covered up, they're going to have to go with some kind of 2-pass approach on a pre. In Tennessee, where we have irrigation, we don't have much irrigation, you got a good chance of handling glyphosate-resistant pigweed. You put a pre on, cut your irrigation on, you get it activated, you're good to go. You're going to control the weeds for at least 6 weeks. But most of our ground is dry land, and you're at the mercy of a rainfall. So one thing we're looking at, and this is the thing that I kind of really got the idea from Stanley Culpepper in Georgia, my colleague, and Alan York in North Carolina, is they're staggering those pre-emergent herbicides. They're putting a Valor on for 14 days ahead of planting, and then they're putting a dual on or first trifoliate soybeans, and kind of overlapping the pre with the odds of you're going to get a rain to get one of them activated. And so that's a big thing that's happening. So we're seeing lots of pre's. I actually did a survey this year of a lot of our growers, and we're looking, if the survey is correct, we surveyed quite a few of them, we're probably going to have somewhere around 80% of our soybean acres get a pre, up from maybe 20% last year. So I think the message is out there. They've seen it, not only from just us in Extension talking and industry talking, and you all in the newspapers and the farm magazines talking. They've actually seen it on their neighbors' fields, and I think it's having an impact.
So resistance is real then?
It's very real, and it's a huge concern. I've kind of gone back to on my grower meetings, and I tell them, we're going to look back, 10 years from now, and tell folks 2003 was as easy it was ever going to be controlling weeds. I mean, you go out with one herbicide, get complete control. Didn't have to be that timely. From here on out, it's going to become much more complex. We have to rely on pre's now, going back to those and relying on those. But a lot of these new technologies that are on the horizon, like the Liberty Link that's coming online, or the dicamba that Monsanto's talking about, or the 2,4-D gene that Dow's talking about. Those are going to be some tools we can use, but the days of going out and hitting foot-tall Palmer pigweed, as an example, is not going to work with them. We're going to have to hit them smaller. We're going to have to be timely. We're going to have to really manage our weeds from here on out, not just spray them.
All right.
That is a difference.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.